doing charity work all my life. I think it's because my grandmother was we were born in Dallas, and my grandmother was the ice cream lady. And so I would watch my grandmother. We would sit on that hardwood floor, and she'd drive around the city, and the kids would chase the truck. But whenever she stopped the truck, then they'd say, "Miss Helen, I have no money," and Miss Helen would give them, the ice cream or whatever it was they wanted. And I remember telling my grandmother, "We're never going to be rich because you keep giving it away." And she would turn her eyes, look back at me, and she'd say, "It comes back to you, baby. It always comes back to you."
Welcome to another exciting episode of Manna Express online show. I am your host, May Olushola. We have an interesting guest on the show this evening. She's someone very involved in the community, has a big heart, gives, has a pantry, has worked in the media, has met a lot of interesting people. You'll see pictures, so you know May is not exaggerating. And I don't want to say too much. Let's just go on and welcome her to the show, and you'll discover more of her as the show goes on. So join me in welcoming to the show this evening, Miss Cheryl Jackson.
Thank you.
I'm sorry I left out action. Miss Cheryl Action Jackson.
Thank you, May. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much. Where did action come from?
Actually, one of the men that I met in media, he had told me that I needed to do a radio show. And we had met at Starbucks, and he went to the men's room. And when he came back, I had already contacted 4 radio stations and had 2 interviews set up for having my own show. And so he said, "You know what? People lack vitamin A, and that's action. You are Cheryl Action Jackson." And that name just stuck with me.
Definitely, that's action right there. Welcome, Action.
Thank you. It's good to be here, May.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I know you're very involved in the community. You have Minnie's Food Pantry, and I must tell you, I'm impressed to see a lady like you giving, having a heart for charity, making sure people are fed, making sure people are happy and smiling. And if you don't mind me asking on behalf of the viewers, how did you get involved in charity work?
Well, I've been doing charity work all my life. I think it's because my grandmother was we were born in Dallas, and my grandmother was the ice cream lady. And so I would watch my grandmother. We would sit on that hardwood floor, and she'd drive around the city, and the kids would chase the truck. But whenever she stopped the truck, then they'd say, "Miss Helen, I have no money," and Miss Helen would give them, the ice cream or whatever it was they wanted. And I remember telling my grandmother, "We're never going to be rich because you keep giving it away." And she would turn her eyes, look back at me, and she'd say, "It comes back to you, baby. It always comes back to you." And I just think, just watching my grandmother, and then I'm a preacher's kid. My father, my mother pastored a church, and my mother's still the pastor of the church. My father went home to be with the Lord. But just watching them give so much that it was embedded in me. It's the fabric of my family. It's just giving back. And so, after the death of my father, I just wanted to do something to honor my mom, and I started Minnie's Food Pantry. I just decided that life isn't really about things. The most important things in life are not things. And my father died at age 58. I'm 43, and I just said, you know what? I want to leave a legacy of what he showed me and impacted me. I want to do the same thing for my own children.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
That's awesome. The name Minnie is from where?
Minnie is my mom, Minnie Ewing. And it's really funny, May, because I had some shirts that said it's all about me, and everybody was wearing shirts. It's all about me, but it really meant Minnie Ewing. Nobody knew that that's what that meant, but those are my mom's initials, is M-E. And so Minnie's is named after my mom. My mom is she's my hero, my shero. She's a living legend. She walks the streets of Plano and Dallas, Fort Worth, and I don't think the world, our community really knows. And so I wanted the world to really know my mom's name. And God has been faithful. He's opening up some crazy doors to allow me to speak her name in some of the greatest and grandest places in the world.
This is the most touching thing I've had on this show. For a daughter to go to the extent of naming, a pantry after her mom, giving your mom her flowers while she's alive, not when, the time comes. I think that is so commendable.
Thank you.
And so encouraging and inspiring. And that's why your action. That's awesome.
Well, I love my mom. If you had an opportunity to meet her, I know you'd feel the same way. She gives the best hugs. She's just, she preached my father's funeral. So that lets you tell you what kind of strength that she has. I looked at her and I'm like, Dad has passed away, and you're going to preach his funeral. And people were calling from all around the world saying, we'll do the eulogy. And she stood up and she said, I'll do it. And I saw, it was just kind of like looking at one of your, comic characters where you're like, this is larger than life, as I saw her preach my father's funeral. And the title of her message was called, You're Going to Die. And I think that was one of the turning moments for me, is knowing that one day I'm going to die. And, you know, everything I heard people say about my father, I was sitting on the seat saying, I wonder if they said that to him while he was living. And I wonder if they showed him as much love as could be shown. And so just in those moments and watching my mom preach his funeral, I stopped and said, you know what, I want the world to know her, and I want to show her what she's shown me all of my life. I love that lady.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. You're a lovely lady too.
Thank you, thank you.
Inspiration to many.
Thank you
many
very
mothers
much.
out there and many daughters. And keep it up.
Well, you know what? It's not even about me, May. As you know, to God be the glory for everything. I mean, I just started with a direct command from God. I remember my father, they told him, they said, you're going to be nationwide pastor. They said, and when you get big, the words you need to tell them is that I simply obeyed. And even though my dad went on home to be with the Lord, that's what I use. I just tell people, I simply obeyed. I heard a voice from God saying, do this. I didn't know where I was going to get the finances, didn't know where I was going to have the resources, but he said, feed my people. And I'm like, how? And then he said, put it in Plano, West Plano, the wealthiest place in the world, you know, to rebuild wealth. And people laughed at me. You're going to put a pantry where? In West Plano? There's nobody hungry. And the first year out, we fed over 5,000 people. But this is our third year now, we fed over 31,000 people. And I think what I love about it is because I've been there, where these women, they're pulling up. Yesterday, a man pulled up at the pantry, and I get out of the car because I'm just pulling in to greet him because he pulls up in a Lexus. So I'm sitting here getting ready to greet him because I'm thinking he's coming to donate, he's coming to help. And I ask him how he's doing, and we exchange pleasantries. And then I walk up to the door, and when I walk up to the door, he goes over toward the left to stand in line as one that's in need. And it just, that's where our economy is right now. Those people who you least figure, that I least figure when I open it up that I would be feeding, those are who I'm feeding. It's not the people that hold the "We'll Work for Food" signs anymore. It's people who are working at the EDSs and the Frito-Lays who were making, you know, 6 figures, and now their salary's been cut in half, or they lost their jobs altogether, and they pull up in a Mercedes-Benz. The mothers are crying. They're holding their children, and they're like, I never thought I would be in this place. And we are there to greet them. And it's not just greeting them. They're not there, in my opinion, for food. They're there to get a hug. They're there to get an inspiring word. They're there to have somebody wipe away their tears. And that's what Minnie's Food Pantry does. It's not just about the food. It's an experience. I mean, when they walk into the pantry, there's a red carpet that's rolled out. There's the candles that are lit. There's music that's playing. And there's people literally dancing. I mean, having a great time in service, and that's what it should be, an experience. So these people, when they walk out, it's nothing like they experience. And I've been on the other side, May, where I had to walk into the government office and I'm crying myself, and the lady throws a bag at me. It's a brown bag, and I get home just grateful for the bag, and I'm like, at least my kids and my husband, I'll have a meal. And I opened up that bag, and I didn't even know. I couldn't identify any of the foods that were there. And I remember just going down the side of the wall, just, you know, just sliding down and crying and saying, God, God. And I didn't want to tell my parents. I've always been Miss Independent, you know. So I didn't want any of my friends to know where we were. Our lights are turned off. What do I do, God? And I know God had me experience that, so that when I encounter people, I don't ever want them to feel the way I felt that day.
That's
so,
amazing.
You know, we've created something, a whole different way to look at life and look at giving back.
You know, in hearing your testimony, there's so many pointers to the fact that our yesterday is in our tomorrow.
Yes, amen.
You know? I mean, from your grandma, you know, the ice cream truck giving, and you keep giving. One day nothing's gonna be left, you know? And up till you get in the brown bag that day, you know, and the feeling of hopelessness, like, Lord, what is this?
Yeah.
But if you had known that the Lord was preparing you then for where you are today,
glory! I didn't know it.
That's amazing.
I did not know it, but it was so heavy. Oh my God! If I go back to that place, I mean, the tears will well. And I go to that place when there are women standing in front of me with their children. I go to that place when there's a father, you know, that lost his job and he has 6 kids and his wife just got ran over by a car. It takes me to those places, and I just grab them. And the power of prayer, sometimes people don't ask for prayer, but you can pray for them silently, you know, and then they walk away going, never knew it would be like this. And what I love about it is that God has just opened up just crazy doors. I mean, when I said, God, I want to give the best, and I told people, you know, don't just donate anything. Don't give me your leftovers. You know, give me what you would want to receive. And now we're partners with Market Street and the Walmarts. And like today, May, we got in steaks, we got in pork tenderloins, we got in pork chops, we got in milk, we have salads. I mean, we give people, when they walk out the door, they are just overwhelmed with gratitude and thanks. And I mean, we get fresh bread from Market Street, you know, we get desserts. And I literally cry because it just started, you know, with a hope and a prayer and a directive. And I'm just thanking God, saying, God, and we have name brand cereals that, you know, when we were growing up, we didn't have that. So to give people things that I used to wish I had when I was a little girl, it's just amazing. It's remarkable about who God is. And for it not really to cost me that much, the only thing it cost me was just my time and my willingness to be obedient to God. That's it.
This is amazing. This is
Yeah.
truly amazing.
It is.
And viewers, if you're watching today and you've had to go stand in line, you know, I mean, it's something you never dreamt of ever doing, and you found yourself maybe this week, maybe even today, I had to go look for food because no jobs, you know, nothing. It's just a hopeless feeling. Let me assure you today that it's part of the plan and purpose of God for your life. It's taking you somewhere. The test will eventually lead to a testimony like what Cheryl is sharing. That test back then with the brown bag, you know, crying and then just falling off the wall like that. Look at where that test has led her to today. A very big testimony in West Plano. So be encouraged. Can we roll the pictures so the viewers can see what Cheryl is doing in the pantry? And all, and you tell us as the pictures roll.
Well, it's amazing that the photo you're seeing, that's actually Minnie's food pantry. That sign, someone gave me a $12,000 quote for that sign, and when it was finished, God gave it to me for $200.
Wow.
That's when He directs you and you just start going. God makes all the provisions. So that's our new place. It's almost 4,200 square feet.
Wow.
Right there is a television show. When I said I wanted the world to know my mom's name, there's a national television show called The Talk, and those are all the producers, and they flew us to Los Angeles, California, and honored my mom and Minnie's food pantry this past Mother's Day. So God is definitely publishing her name.
Awesome.
That is some of the cereal. You see corn flakes. We have corn flakes. My favorite cereal is Cap'n Crunch. I wish I would have given you that one. But we have so many different cereals. And our place, they say, look like the best compliment is a grocery store without the cash registers. And that's what's amazing to me. Our volunteers, they have such, thank you, a great time. I mean, those baskets that you see them pushing, I always say Farrah Fawcett came to our pantry because I just love Maria, and she brings her sons. And it's a family-oriented place. So she has 3 sons. Those are our volunteers. When they finish, I tell them, think grocery store. So when they finish putting the things up, the people actually get to go grocery shopping up and down our aisles. So they choose the food that they want, not me throwing something at them. So they have that basket and they're rolling the baskets down. If they eat Campbell's soup, then that's what they can choose for themselves and their families. And the youth love coming out. They tell their friends about it, and we think about customer service. So we ask them, push the carts. Remember back in the old days, if you went to the grocery stores, people pushed the carts out. So I asked my volunteers, serve on all aspects of when people walk in. And they really serve it. And the lady you just saw, those are her 2 sons. And it says, I always talk about Mother Teresa, and I didn't know I was born on the same day she was born.
Wow.
But she made this quote. She says, if you can't feed 100 people, feed just 1. So that feed just 1 is our motto. And the gentleman in the middle is my sons. And then those other 2 are Maria's, who you just saw walking through looking like Farrah Fawcett. So that's Minnie's Food Pantry the first night that the lights came on. My mom said she always wanted her name in lights, but she was wanting to dance at a club, in a nightclub, and God told her she was supposed to preach. So when she came by one night, she said, I finally got my name in lights. At a food pantry.
Awesome. This is awesome. I mean, you're really doing an awesome job.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
I mean, viewers, we have to support this ministry. She didn't come on this show to say, you know, support my ministry.
Right.
Never said anything like that. But I just feel there's a burden in my heart, whatever, you know, I mean, whatever we can do, even if it's prayer, just a prayer,
Amen.
Donation or anything, let's support this ministry because she's doing such an outstanding, 3 times I've mentioned it now, job.
Thank you, May. And
Wow.
you know what? By supporting the ministry financially, we strategically partner with different organizations. For instance, those Kellogg's boxes of cereal that you saw, you know, those only cost me 20 cents a box. whereas you buy that in the store for sometimes $3 a box. And Cap'n Crunch cereal, it doesn't matter what the cereal is, it's 20 cents a box if it's in stock. Or the corn, you know, most people go to the grocery store, spend $1.20 a can. I get corn for 10 cents a can. So your money goes so much further. We can feed a family of 4 for $5.40.
That's
and
awesome.
so I'm going to have to bring one day what I can buy for $5.40 so people can see, because sometimes you go, my dollar won't help. $1 really buys $5 worth of food.
That's
It provides almost 8 meals.
Awesome. So anyone can walk off the street and come into Minnie's
Yeah,
Food
we have a
Pantry?
very, very easy process. When I went and needed help, it was like 8 pages of paperwork that I had to fill out and sit around and be humiliated. But we have 1 page, and that page is just because we have to keep records, you know, but it's just your name, your address. You bring a valid photo ID, and you bring a utility bill in your name so that I can verify that you're actually the person living in the address that you gave me. And then that's it. We're more than happy to help you. It's that simple.
Wow, so you really feel like you're walking in your calling.
I am. I'm walking in purpose and passion. There is no, you know, when you're doing the calling that God has, there's no question about it. And I will tell you, one of the biggest times that tried me was because I was faced with, I had no rent, I had nothing. I needed $2,135 because I needed my rent that day. And I never try to let anybody see me down, because I don't believe God's people. I mean, we go down, but you don't have to see me go down.
That's right.
And I remember staying home on a Monday, and my director of operations called me, and I didn't want to go in because I was just like, Lord, I don't have the rent. What am I going to do? I know the landlord's coming by, and I didn't want my director to see me in that mode, because if you're the leader and they see the leader fail or go buckling, everybody else up underneath you began to worry. And I was crying at home, and she called me and she said, you've got to come see this. You've got to come see this. And I was like, what is it? She goes, I can't tell you. Just come in. And I only live 5 miles away. Got in my car, went up there, and I was like, Lord, I was on my knees when she called saying, show me a sign, show me a sign. And when I walked in the door, there were these 2 young boys holding this sign, and there's these adults standing around holding a sign, and it says, when I was hungry, you fed me. When I was thirsty, you gave me drink. And it said, Mission Possible Kids raised $2,135.
No, this is a joke.
I'm not joking. I still have the sign in my office right now because it just reminds me of how awesome. I mean, God literally showed me a sign, and these kids handed me this check. What was amazing is that they had began this was November. They had began collecting the money in August. They sold M&Ms. M&Ms, a little circle M&Ms, and then when people bought the M&Ms for 50 cents, then they asked every kid to put a quarter in it and fill it back up, and every M&M container held $14.25.
Till they got to
till they got to $2,135. And I just literally fell on my knees and just began to thank God. And he continues to give me signs over and over and over again. And so that's what I'm saying is when you're walking in his real purpose, you don't need, my husband say, oh, if you're really supposed to have this, then tell God to bring you some oxtails in your pantry. And the next morning, here comes oxtails. I'm like, I go, any question, any sign. I mean, it's just amazing to me. He just throws stuff out there. But everything he's thrown out at me, God has brought it in. Just like, okay, here's your next sign. I call him, I said, you will not believe what came in. He goes, no. I go, we've got oxtails. You know, it's just amazing. It's just, God is humorous that way. I tell you, the biggest sign that I had is we adopted a dog, and the dog wasn't eating properly. We just did this about a month ago, and I'm like, what's wrong with this dog? And so I found the dog's paper, and it said what type of food that he ate, and it was Elroy food, dog food. And I was like, I got to get to Walmart. Well, I never got to Walmart, but I went to go pick up food where I buy food for the people. And the food bank had free dog food. And do you know what kind it was? It was Elroy dog food. And I was like, oh my God, this is the dog food. I said, God loves me so much that he's providing food for my dog. And it was free. It was like, take as much as you want. And then I finally got to Walmart to look at and the food was $48 a bag, what they gave to me. But they gave it to me for free at the food bank. And I just was like, oh, how awesome is it? And God just said, you feed my people, why wouldn't I feed your dog?
That's it right there. That seals it. That seals it. And viewers, I mean, that's just too beautiful.
Your dog.
If you feed my people, why wouldn't I feed you? If you do not have a giving attitude and you're watching this program, you know, this is such a powerful testimony. I'm in awe at how powerful, how close God is, you know, if you're walking in his will. And that's what she's doing. And And I bless God for you. I
Thank
bless
you.
God for everything He's doing in your life.
Thank you. I
have
love
so
that
much,
man.
so much to ask you, and time is just running.
I know.
But I know you've been you're in the media too.
Yes, ma'am.
How do you balance the giver and in the media?
Well, you know what? I
Glamour
use
and
both.
giving.
I really use both. You know, and I never went to school for this. I looked at my baby pictures and everything, and I'm always in the camera. On all my pictures, I was in the camera like this. So my mom said, we knew you were going to be on TV. But you know what? I got in the media because of giving. My sister and I, we started a company a while back called Sisters of Savings, teaching people how to use coupons. And just from teaching people how to use coupons, one of the major markets here asked me would I do a segment, produce and write my own segment. And I did that for 3.5 years. Then I started writing for the largest newspaper here, the Dallas Morning News, and I stopped writing, but I just started back up again. It's called Get It, and that's the name of the magazine. It's in the Dallas Morning News now. And then, you know, I've had the opportunity to just cover the Stellar Awards, be the VIP exclusive. And I used to tell people I just bootleg until God opens up the door. You know how it is, May. You got to knock that door down. And so now I've gone from bootlegging, please let me in, to now people are calling me saying, you know, and paying me, you know, and that's when they say, God, your room will make gifts for you. You know, your gifts will make room for you. That's what God has done. I mean, He allows me to go in. I'm talking to some of the largest churches, Prestonwood Baptist Church, 30,000 members, and God is opening up those crazy doors. And I'm sitting out here, you know, meeting some of the largest celebrities, larger than life than any of us. I mean, I've met Oprah Winfrey 11 times now.
You know, we're going to talk about that. We're going to spend a minute or 2 minutes.
It's amazing.
About that. How in the world did you meet Oprah Winfrey?
Well, you know, Oprah, I was one of those points in my life where I was down in the corner again, and Oprah's saying, write down everything you want to do. So I wrote down I wanted to have my own TV show, my own radio show, and I wanted to write, have my own newspaper column. Keep in mind, never went to college, but I'm writing down everything. Whatever I thought about, I wrote it. And I said, I want to interview Oprah, and I want to interview Will Smith. And this year was the first year Oprah ever had this Live Your Best Life. And so I bought tickets, flew from Dallas to Florida, and Oprah was like, don't ask me for anything. And I was the last person she pointed at to ask a question. And I said, I know you said don't ask, but I followed everything you've said to do. And I wrote down I wanted to interview you. I now have my own column, and I would love it if you would give me an interview. And she said, I'll do it. And from there, I mean, we've just back and forth, back and forth. And then she wrote me, said, I saw your column, good job. I mean, and you know, we're about to be on a TV show next month. It's called The Marriage Ref, and it's actually about Oprah Winfrey, my husband and I. So it's going to be on Channel 5. It's going to be really huge.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. This is nobody but God.
It's nobody. I mean, to God be the glory for all of it, because you know what? I couldn't have scripted this. Someone told me that my life is a movie. And they're like, you need to put it down. I just wrote a book, and it's called What in the World Are You Doing? And basically in that book, it talks about the 10 times that I've met Oprah, but it just talks about all the crazy ways that God has just opened up doors, listening to His voice and just following in His footsteps, and how He's just opened up doors and made provisions for everything that I've had a vision for. God has made the provisions for it.
Amen. I always share everything with the viewers. We're like family. So if you don't mind, can we see pictures of Cheryl and Oprah? And I think we have about 4 pictures to show of that. Yeah.
Oh, that's her 25th anniversary. I was the very last photo that she took a picture with.
Wow.
Yeah, and to be in the VIP party, it was Aretha Franklin, Stevie Wonder, I mean, Stedman Graham, Jamie Foxx, you mean, you name it. All of these people, and then me. There's Jamie Foxx,
That's
yeah.
God. That's
I mean,
God.
that's nobody but God. I mean, you know how tight security was. And for little old me, Plano girl from Plano, Texas is what I say. To get into those doors, those were God doing. It wasn't me.
And this picture, I like this picture.
I love that picture. That's me covering the Stellar Awards, and that's Pastor Donnie McClurkin. And I mean, he actually spotlighted Minnie's Food Pantry. He gave me the first award of having a heart of gold.
Wow.
And he interviewed me and my mom on his radio show recently. And I was just so honored, because his music just helped me get through the passing of my father. And so to be able to meet him, and for him to just, you know, validate, you know, it was his assistant that says your place is like a grocery store without cash registers. And so for them to validate who you are, you know, the BET network, they donated $30,000 to us last year. And I mean, to be validated by your own people and the networks that you're growing up on, you know, it's been a blessing, but it's been hard. I mean, I can't tell you. I wish I could tell you it's all been, easy. It's up going up rainbows, but it hasn't. There's been some rain and times where, I just didn't know. But every single time God walked in and he stepped into my life just in the nick of time. But I've lost things behind that command from God. I mean, I used to drive a BMW 745 Li, but I gave it up so I could make the payments there. God will test you. Like you said, I tell people your mess becomes your message. What message are you going to give? And I mean, my credit's gone down, but you know what I tell people? I got a real MasterCard, and if you got that one, you don't really have to worry about it. But everything that I've lost, I've gained, and I tell my sons, I have 2 sons, and they say, well, Mom, why do you do it all? I said, because I don't measure things by what I'm going to get on earth. I measure them through eternity. What am I going to gain in eternity?
That's awesome. And real quick, when did you encounter Christ? I always ask this question.
Oh, my gosh. You know what? I was 7 years old when I knew who God was, really, really knew. But when I totally committed my life to God, I want to say that I was about 30. I mean, I played around with God and played around with God. And as a girl, I was a daddy's girl. And I would watch my dad, and he would always, I had the opportunity to work for Emmett Smith, all these different people, and I would bring my father autographed footballs, basketballs, everything. And you know what, May? The one time that I saw my dad cry was when he said, someone read this verse. And I picked up my Bible in church and read it. And I looked up and saw tears coming down his eyes. And that's the moment he and I connected. And I was like, he doesn't care about all this. He cares about his child growing up and getting in God. And then it just so grounded me. And I just had to give my life to God and say, okay, you take over, you navigate. Jesus, take the wheel.
Wow, we have 2 minutes to go, but I want to touch on you've been married 25 years.
25 years. 25 years. Last week we celebrated. I have 2 sons. My oldest son just got married, and I'm going to be a Grammy.
Ooh. Congratulations.
Thank you. And my other son is in a relationship right now, so he and her, who knows when that'll be, but I'm just so excited. God has allowed me to be able to be old enough to see this,
Wow.
And I just pray that the legacy that my parents left for me, that's what I'm trying to do.
And it's obvious from grandma to your parents and then to you and even your son's picture.
Yeah, my son works with me every single day.
Wow.
So and my other son works with my husband. So it's really blessed. We're blessed. We are blessed.
That's the icing on the cake.
Yes, it is.
I mean, after all said and done, there's love, there's unity,
yes,
there's knowledge. Christ sits on the throne of your life. And
yes,
what else can you ask for?
Nothing.
Oh my
Nothing
goodness.
at all.
This has been an inspirational interview.
Thank you.
I'm just so blessed and honored and privileged to have you on this show.
I'm honored to be here, May. Thank you for choosing me to sit in this chair. I know a lot of people have come before me.
Great heart, great heart. You have a great heart, and I'm so grateful. And viewers, whatever we can, let's support Minnie's Food Pantry. Where can they reach you?
They can actually go to minniesfoodpantry.org if they want to donate, and you can donate online at minniesfoodpantry.org. And then my personal website is CherylActionJackson.com.
Okay, action. So what action are we expecting to see from you?
It's a lot.
In the next year, next year?
You know what? I want to do some remote locations. I want to go back to where my grandmother was and put a Minnie's Food Pantry right there on the corner of where we grew up to be able to feed the hungry. And I want to do remote locations all around the world.
So we're going to see more Minnie's Food Pantry.
You're going to see a whole lot of more.
Wow.
Absolutely.
On a global scale, too.
Yes, ma'am.
Wow, it's been such a pleasure.
Thank you
so much. And viewers, thank you for listening. As usual, I'm honored. Until next week, stay blessed.